Hey, so my name is Andrew. I'm a big film and TV buff. Like, kind of been obsessed with film since I was a child. So I'm gonna take my friend's advice and just start doing some movie reviews. Why not? Especially a movie that is so divisive since its release date. And yes, you guessed it right, Madam Web. Madam Web. Unlike a lot of people, I haven't really experienced superhero fatigue. I tend to like them just fine. I do prefer MCU over DC, so I went into Madam Web thinking, hey, how bad can it be? And oh god, it was really bad. All right, so I don't like to ever just tear down a movie entirely, so let's get started with what was good. Dakota Johnson. I feel like Dakota Johnson has been working really hard to get that 50 Shades stench off of her. And I think she's done a pretty good job. From Suspiria, the Peanut Butter Falcon, I think she's a solid actress. So, as to what happened with Madam Web, all I can really say is that it's in the writing and the directing. She did fine. As another YouTuber said, she actually had a lot of fun with it. She did what she could with the material that was given to her, and the same goes for Sydney Sweeney, who's done amazing in Euphoria. I mean, she was nominated for an Emmy. I I have to say that what was wrong with this movie had nothing to do with the acting, but strictly the writing and maybe the directing, which I think is weird. I don't I don't think this movie was very well directed. It had great actors in it. I mean, it definitely had the budget to back it up, 80 million. I mean, it's an MCU movie, so yeah, I don't think it was very well directed. From the opening shot, I thought, "Oh god, is it the acting? Is it the writing? Is it the directing?" But then I've seen these actors in other things before where they've been fine, like Tahar Rahim. He's been great in other things, but he wasn't good in this. And back to Tahar Rahim, there was this weird thing where he would talk, but it almost sounded like it was being ad-libbed. And I know it's not like a language barrier thing where they're like, oh my God, like his delivery was so terrible. We need a ADR, all of this. His English is fine. So I don't know what was this weird like lip syncing thing, and it's only with his character with Ezekiel Sims. I don't see it with anybody else. Um, but yeah, on that note, the antagonist, he's kind of just like a baddie. He's there, but no real character development. He just had like these visions of these three futuristic Spider-Womans who murder him. So it's up to him now to destroy them before they can do that. And lo and behold, Dakota Johnson's Madam Web all of a sudden has this freak accident where her dormant uh futuristic abilities, like they come into play. She has these visions of the future. And that being said, the first couple of instances are really repetitive. You see her just have this one moment immediately after she's revived by Adam Scott's Ben Parker, and that's fine, but then it's done, like overplayed too many times to the point where you're like, oh, really? Okay, we get it. She has like visions of the future. Get on with it. Like, when is she going to meet these three girls that grow up to be Spider-Woman and kill Ezekiel Sims' character? So then you finally get to that, and she meets these three girls. But again, the way that things happened, it just felt contrived. And not like in a believable way where, okay, I'm watching this movie, so I'm just going to, give into the suspension of disbelief because the script is so good and it's a superhero movie. So, you have to give way to things that don't make sense, but they have to just be accepted for the convenience of the plot. No, these things just made no sense. Like, in no possible scenario would you imagine that these three girls would go along with what's happening ever. And yet they do. And there are instances where you're thinking, why would you be okay with this random woman who you don't know just driving you out to the woods and leaving you there? This movie wasn't even that long. It was only an hour and 54 minutes. It felt like a 3-hour movie. It's not like Spider-Man No Way Home, where that movie went way past the 2-hour mark, but it was pretty solid. So you're not frustrated. This movie, an hour in, and I'm thinking, when is it going to end? Or when is the action going to pick up? So that aside, I mean, it never really picked up. It's not one of those instances where it's so bad it's good. It was just bad. But again, what did work for it was the actors. Dakota Johnson, solid. You could tell that she had fun with it. Unfortunately for her, this movie was just not it. Some people will walk into it and think, oh my God, she's just a bad actress. No, it's not even that. Everyone in it looked bad. Sydney Sweeney looked bad. Isabella Merced, who I saw in Instant Family. She was great in that. It's been great in other things. Not in this. Adam Scott's character. You could tell that he was trying so hard to just make the most out of his character and make every scene that he was in land, but the dialogue just didn't give way for that. Emma Roberts, probably the highlight of that movie. And she was only in it maybe like 10 minutes, but she's pretty funny. Pretty good. I'll give her credit. She was my favorite part of the movie, and like I said, she was in it 10 minutes, an hour and 54-minute movie. And a character that was in it for her character, Mary Parker, who eventually, like, spoiler alert, gives birth to Peter Parker, but you could smell that Easter egg from like a mile away. She was good, but and then the climax, when there's this one scene where Dakota Johnson's Madam Web is, teaching these three girls how to do like CPR. She's an EMT, like, no spoiler there. You can see that from the trailer. And okay, so I guess you're gonna die at some point, and it's up to these three girls to revive you. That's exactly what happens. That's the climax. She kills the villain. She dies again for the second time. She's revived by these three girls. And then flash forward, you see her as Madam Web in a wheelchair, like she's blind, paraplegic, but she's absolutely happy with her life now because I guess her visions are that much more enhanced. So you're thinking, okay, I guess this was set in 2003 so that you can incorporate Madam Web and these three Spider-Women into like future MCU movies with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really care by the end of the movie. And it was a very kind of like, Disney-esque finale. Like, I felt almost like I was watching a children's movie by the end. Like, the three Spider Women go up to, Madam Web, and they're taking care of her, and it's almost like one big happy family. But none of it felt like a redemption for any of these characters. I didn't care by the end whether any of them lived or died. The villain never felt menacing. And when you finally see Madam Web tap into all of her abilities, there's this one part where you see her. She's able to like go from point A, point B to point C to save all these girls. Yeah, another spoiler, but who cares? This movie is fucking shit. It's like, okay, so you can do that now just because you can. There's no real training. At one point, you see her, she goes to like Peru to discover more about like her backstory and, why her mother was traveling there and her explorations. And then you, you see her kind of just meet this one guru who basically tells her at one point you'll be able to tap into your abilities, and then flash forward a few hours later, she gets back to New York City to save these girls, and she's able to tap into these abilities just because she knows that she has them. It was almost like that Mary Sue moment in The Force Awakens where Rey fights off against Kylo Ren, but even more frustrating because at least that movie tried to build up to that. And it developed the characters well enough to where when Rey and Kylo Ren fight, it's not entirely frustrating. And when they fight again in The Last Jedi, that's fine. But in this movie, everything just happens so quickly, it's so rushed, with no real development from any of the characters that you're just disappointed and bored, really. So I don't know. I don't recommend this movie. I've never seen a movie with such a low IMDb rating, but it's totally warranted. The Rotten Tomato score is even lower. Absolutely warranted. This movie's trash. And it's not superhero fatigue. It just sucked. Save yourself the money. Do not watch it. I saw this during a matinee on Valentine's Day at the Regal for $10.75. I wanted my money back. I never want my money back. This movie, garbage. All right, well, this is my first movie review. I apologize. I'm not an expert when it comes to lighting. I need to work on my background, but hope you enjoy it. And if anything, just take this as, like a cautionary review. Save yourself the money and, most importantly, the time. Okay, you're better off seeing Sydney Sweeney's rom-com with Glenn Powell. Has better ratings. Alrighty then. Have a good one. Bye.